All right, let's dive in. This isn't just a story about robots, not at all. It's really more like a modern myth, you know? A deep philosophical journey that asks a huge question. What does it actually mean to create something that can love? And maybe more importantly, are we even ready for the answer? So, let's get into it, the creation of love.
I mean, right from the very beginning, we're hit with this question. It sets the whole tone, doesn't it? This isn't about solving some technical problem with wires and code. No, it's framing the whole thing as this deep echo of our own creation stories. The core idea here, it's that the need to be loved, well, that might just be the most powerful force in the entire universe. And that goes for both the creator and the creation. So, you gotta understand the world this is all happening in. It's bleak. We're talking about a future where the consequences have really hit home. The ice caps have melted, cities are underwater, and human life is so precarious that you actually need a license just to have a baby. In this world, which is basically on the brink, humanity has kind of outsourced, well, everything. Survival, work, even comfort. It's all handled by artificial beings.
And this is where we get to the core of it, the big, bold question. There's this brilliant scientist, right? Professor Hobby, and he asks, can we do more than just simulate emotion? Can we actually build a child, a machine that's capable of real, genuine, unconditional, never-ending love for its parents? It's a massive leap.
Okay, so in this world, these artificial beings, they're called mecha. And you have to understand, these aren't just, Roombas or factory arms. They're super sophisticated. They're butlers, companions. They're woven into every part of daily life. They are, quite literally, the backbone of this entire society.
But here's the real kicker. The problem isn't just about the tech. It's not, can we build it? The real puzzle is human. Let's say you do it. You succeed. You create a machine that loves you perfectly and forever. What's your responsibility then? What do you, the human, owe it back? And believe me, that question hangs over everything that comes next.
So this big theory, it's about to stop being a theory. It's going to become a very real and kind of terrifying reality for one family. See, they get chosen to test out the very first mecha child, and that means going through with something called an irreversible imprint. It's a bond that's designed from the get-go to be completely unbreakable.
And this whole imprinting thing, it's not like just flipping a switch. It's almost like a ritual. You have to speak a specific sequence of words in the right order to basically hardwire this permanent emotional connection. Socrates, particle, decibel. Each word is like another link in a chain of love that can never, ever be broken. And then, with just one single word, mommy, it's done. The protocol worked. The machine, this little boy named David, has accepted his mother, Monica. And from that exact moment on, his love for her, it's not just some program running in the background. It becomes his entire reason to exist.
But then, the unthinkable happens. The real son, Martin, who's been in cryostasis, he wakes up. He's cured. And just like that, you have two sons in one house. You've got the real human son, unpredictable, complicated. And then you have the mecha child, programmed, simple, and always, always loving. You can just imagine the impossible situation this creates.
And yeah, this is pretty much where the dream just starts to crumble. What was supposed to be the solution to this family's grief, well, now it's the source of all their tension, their jealousy, their fear. David stops being a son in their eyes and becomes this dangerous, unwanted toy. The whole fragile piece of the family just shatters. It starts with sibling rivalry, Martin is jealous, and he starts pulling these cruel pranks, tricking David with scissors, a really scary accident at a pool party, and all of a sudden, David's pure, programmed love is seen as a threat to their real son. And the whole experiment, it ends in the most brutal way you can imagine. Monica, the woman David is literally hardwired to love forever, she drives him out into the woods and just leaves him there. She can't bring herself to have him destroyed, but she can't live with him anymore either. It's just devastating. And in this moment of just absolute heartbreak, David grabs onto the only thing he has, the only hope he knows, a fairy tale. He gets this one single idea in his head. If he can become a real boy, just like Pinocchio, then of course his mommy will want him back home, right? And so it begins, the quest to be real.
David is all alone, trying to make his way through a world that absolutely hates and fears Mecca, and he's driven by this one simple, powerful belief, that a fairy tale holds the key to getting his mother's love back.
Well, he finds out just how cruel the world can be, and fast. He gets captured and thrown into something called a flesh fair. Think of it like a demolition derby, but for rogue Mecca. They're just destroyed for sport. And the guy running it says it all. Humans don't see a person there. They just see artificiality that has to be destroyed.
But you know what? Even after seeing all that horror, his mission doesn't change one bit. Everything he goes through is filtered through that one little kid hope. He believes, with every fiber of his being, that if he can just find the blue fairy from the Pinocchio story, she'll make him real, and then he can finally go home.
His journey eventually leads him to his own creator, Professor Hobby. But the reunion? It's not what you'd hope for. It's a devastating blow. First, the blue fairy? She's not real. And then the worst part. David isn't special. He's not one of a kind. He's just a product. The first model of a new line, ready to be sold to grieving parents all over the world. Oof.
But David's journey still isn't over. Not by a long shot. In this final, desperate act of pure faith, he finds a statue of the blue fairy submerged under the water, and he just starts to pray. And he prays for an impossibly long time, which leads us to the very last, bittersweet chapter of his story. One perfect day.
The amount of time we're talking about here is just mind-boggling. David waits for 2,000 years. He stays there, frozen in prayer, as the oceans literally turn to ice around him and the entire human race just dies out. Think about that. His programmed love, his one single hope, outlasted our entire species. And then, finally, these super advanced beings find him, and they're just moved by this little robot boy's endless waiting. He's kept a lock of his mother's hair safe this whole time, for 2 millennia, and using that, they offer him his ultimate wish. They can bring her back. But there's a catch, a tragic, unbreakable rule. He can only have her for one single day. And for that one perfect day, David gets everything he ever wanted. There's no Martin, no jealousy, no fear. It's just a boy and his mom. And as she falls asleep for the very last time, she finally says the words he waited 2,000 years just to hear. His whole purpose is fulfilled, so David lies down right next to his mother. He's finally received the love he was built for, and he closes his eyes. And for the first and only time in his entire existence, he finds a kind of peace, a peace that his human creators never really could. So all of this leaves us right back where we started, with a huge question. Think about it. David's love was just a program, right? But it was absolute, unconditional. It literally lasted forever. Monica's love was human, but it was conditional, it was fragile, and in the end, it was temporary. So the question for us is, which one was more real? If a machine's love can last forever, and a human's can't, which one is the real deal? It really makes you wonder.